What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back for another match preview. The Champions League is back, people, and it's AC Milan in the San Siro. How you feeling coming into this one, Tim?
Well, it would have been good if you asked me a couple of days ago, but seeing as this post-Leicester, post-Bentancur, Basuma news, with injuries mounting up on the back of a really poor display, you can't be anything other than worried. And you look at AC Milan as well. On the face of it, terrible form going into this. I think it's 5 losses in the last 7 games, but they've recently changed up their formation. They've recently gone to a 3 at the back, and they've got a win in their last game at home to Torino, and a 1-0 win and a clean sheet. So are things turning for the better for them? We're not 100% sure, but just focusing on Tottenham going into this game with no Højbjerg, no Bentancur in the middle, asking Sarr and Skip to patrol the centres, what is a really crucial area in the formation we usually like to play, is a big ask, and it's a big worry, especially against talented players like Tonali of AC Milan. It's going to be very difficult for them to boss that area of the pitch where maybe Højbjerg and Bentancur would be able to. Having said that, they are overall they are in bad form, AC Milan. So hopefully they're not going into this game with that much confidence as well. And if we can get out of this game, it doesn't necessarily have to be a win. If we can just somehow scrape a draw or even a narrow defeat, then you can have hope going back into the game at White Hart Lane that we can overturn them. And with players, hopefully a couple players, Højbjerg at least is going to be back for that game as well. So there is definitely all to play for. We go into it probably, it's an interesting one, because if you asked me before the Leicester game, we're probably favourites for this game. But now, with Milan winning, us having injuries and a really bad performance, maybe we're edging towards Milan. It's going to be a tight game, but I still have hope we can go out there and give a account of ourselves, but I'm definitely less confident than I am before the Leicester game.
Yeah, in terms of who's favourites, the bookies have it just as AC Milan, pretty even. They've got it at. But before I comment too much on the game, I mean, you're looking at AC Milan and Spurs, the history that we have against each other. And the San Siro has been a fairly happy hunting ground for us, to be fair. Last time we were there, Crouchy scored 1-0 in the Champions League. I was there that night. It was a real magical night with Aaron Lennon peeling away from Mario Yepes, squaring it to Peter Crouch, and the rest was history, to be fair. And before that, we played them in 1972 with a 1-1 draw. So we haven't had it too bad against AC Milan. I mean, we did play them in, I think, a Europa League not that long ago. I think it was just one game, wasn't it?
AC?
In 2015. Oh, no, that was the Audi Cup. The Audi Cup. We beat them in the Audi Cup as well. But no, I think that Spurs fans will have fond memories, won't they, playing against AC Milan? And I definitely do, with that 2 brilliant games against them, 0-0 at the Lane, just to follow up from a 1-0 win at the San Siro. So I'm very much looking forward to going back there. We fly out Monday around midday, so look, it's going to be a very interesting game. And like you say, Milan not on the greatest form at all. Before this 1-0 win against Torino, they had 4 back-to-back losses. And since the World Cup, they've literally just fallen off a cliff. If you look at where they are in their league standings, they are currently sitting in 5th, and before the World Cup they were like 2nd, looking to challenge for the league title, and that hasn't materialised. They're still within touching distance of Inter Milan, who are in 2nd place, so Inter are 5th on 41 points, with Inter being 2nd on 43 points, and they did just lose to Inter last week 1-0 in the Milan derby there. But if you want to focusing just on the game, I mean, obviously it's a big loss going there without Bentancur, without Basuma, without Højbjerg, dare I say it, without Sessegnon as well. Look, we've got a lot of injuries without Hugo Lloris. We've got a lot of injuries to contend with. I think that if we would have played them earlier on in the season, I would have been a lot more worried than I am now. But these injuries have put big worries into my minds. And I think that AC Milan as well will look at this game with worries, seeing as Spurs just coming off the back of that Man City win, they'll probably look at that being like, oh, wow, they beat Man City. We're in for a big game here. So I think you've got 2 teams going up against each other that probably are quite wary of the opposition coming into it. So it's going to be a very tight game. How do you think Spurs should approach this game? Should we consider a 3-5-2, maybe pushing Dyer in the midfield and maybe going for that low block? and just take anything we can back to the lane.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I guess maybe doing that, you could argue, going to be more defensively solid. I just think Dyer doesn't have the legs to be in midfield anymore, and I don't know how he would fare, but playing back in that position. He did all right against Man City, stepping out, but against Leicester, he was a bit of a disaster. So it's an interesting dichotomy of how he approaches the game, because I'm fairly sure Dyer is going to play. In terms of going in three midfield, if it's not playing Dyer there, we obviously don't have any other options, unless we maybe want to push Kulusevski into
bring
central.
Alfie Devine in. Why not?
Alfie Devine, I don't know. We have very, very limited options. But then again, on the flip side, can you trust a midfield two of Sarr and Skip in such a big game who lack experience at this kind of level? There's a good argument to say maybe not, and maybe they do need even if it is Dyer, a bit more experience in the central midfield. It's a big call by. It's a very, very big call by Antonio Conte to see how he approaches it. When you're looking at AC Milan, as I say before, they've been predominantly playing four at the back for a lot of the season, and just before their recent switch to 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, they lost 4-0 to Lazio, 5-2 to Sassuolo, shipping goal after goal, basically. The two games for that, 2-2 against Roma, 2-2 against Lecce, so they're really very open at the back and conceding lots of goals. They've now switched to a 3. Since then, only lost 1-0 to Inter Milan in a very tight game, and then obviously won 1-0 against Torino. So
it's not scoring much either. They're
not scoring much, but they'll be thinking they've tightened up, and they're not going to be shipping as many goals. So considering at the moment how they're not as open, I don't know if you want to go there thinking you're going to get loads of opportunities right now. So maybe we just want to go there, keep it tight, make sure we're not conceding too many, and with AC Milan not scoring too many right now, I think if we get a draw out of there, that'll be a good result for us, and I think it gives us a good advantage going back to Tottenham. So I think we just got to keep it tight. The last thing you want to do is think you have a real go at it, and then be 3-0 down after for an hour or something, and think why have you done that? So I think you've got to make sure you keep it tight, and I think the real battle will be won back at Tottenham, in my opinion.
Yeah, if the game's not lost after this first leg, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But when you're looking at key matchups on the pitch, obviously their standout performer this season, Rafael Leao, on the left wing. What do we do at right wing back? Obviously, Porro had a disaster against Harvey Barnes. Is it a game for Emerson, this one, to try and combat the threat that they have with Rafael Leao?
Yeah, I think so. As much as Porro, I want to see him integrated into the team as soon as possible. I mean, given his performance against Leicester especially, I think, and given how dangerous Rafael Leao is, you have to have back Emerson in this game. And as much as whatever you want to say about Emerson, he's our former right wing back at the moment, no doubt about it. So I think he's definitely the one for the job here, especially want to keep it tight and have to make sure that Leao is kept quiet, because if we do keep him quiet, I'm hoping that we should have the capabilities in the centre back to deal with Giroud in terms of if he doesn't get the supply, hopefully we can keep him quiet as well, and then we can go a long way to keeping AC Milan quiet.
Would you potentially like to see Pedro Porro know that now Romero's back in the side and we'll be that bit more defensively solid on that side with Romero?
I mean, there's an argument for it, but I think Emerson deserves it. I think Emerson deserves the nod, and I think if we have Emerson there, I think it's more important to keep Leao quiet than making sure we are as dangerous. I mean, obviously you want to be dangerous. I'm not saying we don't want to attack at all. Obviously we do, but you just need to make sure that we're still in the game. And I think Emerson makes sure of that compared to Porro. And unfortunately, given Porro's performance, if he puts in a similar performance, then we could be in big trouble. So you just want to make sure we keep it tight.
Yeah, and he's not the only threat they have on that side, is it? Because they've got Theo Hernandez, who will play that side as a wing back, as he's been playing the last couple of games against Inter Milan and against Torino. So it's going to be an interesting matchup on that side, isn't it? We get Romero and Emerson probably against Theo Hernandez and Rafael Leao.
Definitely. Theo Hernandez was an absolute star at the World Cup for France. He's obviously a really offensive, attacking threat down that side as well. Even more reason to play Emerson Royal, in my opinion. So that's probably going to be the crucial matchup in terms of where their real quality is on the pitch. But it's going to be, I reckon if we can not be too open on that side, then we have got a good chance of keeping them out.
I think, yes, they have shown it up over the last couple of weeks, but when you're looking at the back three they have been playing the last game, you've got Kalulu, Tior, who are both young players coming through at AC Milan, and obviously Simon Kjaer at the back. I mean, that is a defence that we can potentially get at with the attacking talent that we do have.
Yeah, I mean, with their attacking talent, you'd fancy them to get a lot of different defences, despite how maybe they've been playing of recent weeks. You have to be confident that if we get our opportunities, we can definitely get at them. It's all about making sure that we have those transitions to make, because someone like Simon Kjaer, we know he's old, he's aging. He can, if you take a run at them, you can definitely get some joy. But you just got to make sure you're not leaving yourselves too open. Against Leicester, that was a big problem of ours, and I think they were super aggressive against us. I don't know how aggressive AC Milan are at the back, but if they stand off us at all, then all of a sudden, if you get Kane on the turn and Son running at them, then you've got a big opportunity of getting in on goal. But it's all about making sure you manipulate the play to fashion those opportunities and making sure Kane gets as involved as possible. And I do think Kane can get some joy out of Simon Kjaer, I would hope so. And if he does, then I think we do have a good chances of hurting them. But I do think Conte's going to prioritise not conceding on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, the problems are, I see it, obviously midfield with Skippy and Sarr more or less taking those reins, because we don't have any options. Going to come up against Krunic and Tonali. Obviously, Tonali has been brilliant for a number of years now. How do you think our midfield two can combat them? I
mean, it's nearly impossible to say, because Sarr and Skip, we've seen them together once. I think that was against Portsmouth, if I remember rightly, and they didn't exactly set the world alight in that game. Although this will provide a different challenge at a different level. And it's going to be a sink or swim situation for them. They're going to be thrown in the deep end. There's no question about it. I'm not expecting them to pull off absolute masterclasses of performances or anything like that. As long as they can compete and make sure they're not completely dominated, then hopefully that can be enough to keep things tight. And they just need to be disciplined. They need to listen to what Conte's telling them, and hopefully they can't be overruled by the occasion. But it's a big ask considering their age and their experience. We know they have the quality, especially on their day. Skip hasn't really been up to it this season, although there are signs of him getting back to his best at the moment. But it's difficult. It's difficult to envisage them in a Champions League game really getting the best of that midfield battle, I have to say.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same on the left a little bit. You've got Salamakers and Brahim Diaz, and Perisic. I mean, he's just not playing well at all at the moment going forward, but especially in his defending. And who do you expect to see there? Was it Billy Davis or Longley? Probably Longley, right?
Part of me thinks because it's a European game, Longley might be better suited to it, and maybe he's going to bring him in. Davis maybe didn't do himself that many favours on Saturday either, but he could really go with either, to be honest. I'm not really sure, I don't know which one he's going to go for. He could go with either. Maybe just freshen it up and bring Longley back in. Maybe even Longley for Dyer. He could even do that, potentially. And play Davis left centre-back, but I'm really not sure which one he's going to go with.
Yeah, it's very tough. But those are the kind of key matchups on the pitch, and you've got key matchups literally everywhere, all over the pitch in this game, this Champions League game, as you usually do in the Champions League. But how do you see the game going? What's your score predictions?
I've got a feeling it's going to be 0-0 in this game, yeah. I've got a feeling we're going to go there, sit tight, make sure that we're not giving them anything. And yeah, take things back to the lane and fancy our chances to beat them at Tottenham, I reckon. I reckon it's going to be, ask the forward players to just do a job for the team this game. Make sure you dig deep, you dig in. And that's what I'm hoping for. And then hopefully we can come away with the result, and the real fight will be back at Tottenham.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, to be honest. I'm going to go for a 0-0 as well, but I'm sure once the beers are flowing in Milan tomorrow, then my score prediction might change to a 1-0 win to Spurs. But look, we got to go there with a bit of positivity and a bit of hope that we can get the job done. Like we said before, Milan are not exactly the most on-form team in Europe.
You've got to remember as well, Conte doesn't have a great record in Europe. Can't remember that. I don't think he's
got a great record in Italy, though.
Yeah, true. can't remember the last time I think he made the quarterfinals. Hasn't made the quarterfinals in a Champions League since I think 2012 or something like that under Juve. So it'll be
All
significant
records are there
for
to
him.
be broken, eh?
Yeah, let's hope so.
But yeah, look, there's no two ways about that. Conte's record in Europe ain't great whatsoever, but his record in the league is usually stellar, and we're not doing great in the league. So maybe it's going to be the flip side reverse this season, and we will go far in the Champions League. But like I said before, I'm going 0-0, and I think that after the beers are flowing, I'm going to change it to 1-0 to Spurs. But you can catch all the action from the San Siro and from our trip out to Italy. We'll be sending content back, so that'll be with you as and when, and predicted lineup will be with you next, and the watch along. I think you've got Sai and Daigle, I believe it is, in the studio tomorrow, so look out for that. Join the watch along and get behind the boys. We'll see you very soon. Thank you everyone for watching us today. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you